Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Bella Salon and Day Spa, located at 41 West Main Street in Northeast Pennsylvania, proudly supports Chautauqua Sunrise and its volunteers. More information at bellasalonanddayspa.net. Funding is provided by a grant from New York State Senator Catherine M. Young, representing Western New York's 57th District with a local office in Olean. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. From the Access Channel 5 studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Channel 5. Continuing the traditions of Senior Report, we are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week, countywide, from 9 to 10 a.m. Join us by calling in live, emailing us, or checking out our social media. And now, from the Channel 5 studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels. We got another fine show for you here this morning. And as always, before we get to our guests, we've got all kinds of things to share with you. When we first started Chautauqua Sunrise, we had a trickle of little events and a couple announcements. And now Chris sends me an actual printout of events and slides in their particular order and news. So keep calling us, send us your information, your news, your events, and so forth. We'd love to announce it here and share it with you. And it's all free of charge. It's a service to our community. So let's get right out of the gate here. Running of the Kentucky Derby today, I think. You got any bets on that, Randy?
I bet one horse is
One horse.
over the finish line.
Yeah, over the finish. You just hope your horse finishes. Okay, that's what your bet
I
is.
got a donkey.
Your donkey's in the race. Okay. Well, today we officially started out with the advertising for the support WRAF radio RFA. I'll get this right yet. Sorry, Dennis. Dennis Drew and the company, his company over there, WRFA Radio for the Arts. They're supporting us, and they are streaming us live sometime during the week. We haven't got the exact schedule yet, but everything we say and do here, we got to be very careful because it's going to be piped over to them, and they're going to rebroadcast it on the radio. And so we're just really excited about that. So thanks again for that. Hey, since last time we talked, I told you I was going to be the MC for the Child Advocacy Program with Janet McDermott and crew, and I was at the Athenaeum, and I was the MC for that, and that was the Diamond Dinner. I gotta tell you folks, this community came out and supported kids big time that night. I don't know how much money they raised, but I know last year they raised $30,000, but by the fact that I emceed, I think they made $30,000 and $1 more or something like that. It was phenomenal. The hands went up regularly. They raised all kinds of money. There was great prizes to bid on and so forth. Chuck Ludwig did an awesome job being the auctioneer. So if you didn't make it this year, there's always next year, and it was a great time at the Athenaeum. Boy, this weather is finally come through for us. It's going to be in the 70s. It's beautiful. When I was driving over here today, I was just reminiscing and thinking about the winter months. It just seems like I forgot all about the horrible winter we had. All those flowers that are bursting on the trees and coming up out of the ground. It's spectacular here in Chautauqua County. And if this is your first spring with us, just soak it up, folks. This is just great here. I love living in Chautauqua County. And the crickets are chirping at night and all that sort of thing. Okay. I know you're just excited to hear about this next report. It's my Goofy Bird report. It's Robin. I think it's the last 3 weeks I've been reporting. is keep tapping at my window, and I'm convinced it sees itself. So it's still banging away at the window in the kitchen. Yesterday, evidently, it decided to change venues, and now it's at the other end of the house tapping on the window. And it seems like maybe when it's in the morning sun, and then maybe it sees its reflection in the evening. I don't know, but this poor bird, he must have a bent beak by now, but that's been going on for like 3 weeks. Crazy. Hey, I don't know if you can do this. I know that Jeff has the power to do it. I think the cameras are all set. Let's go to a wide angle shot here, would you, Jeff? And I want to talk a little bit about what's going on behind me. Okay. Well, first of all, behind me is a new picture by Galen Zook, and there's a rainbow coming out of my head. There we go. And we've dressed up the studio for spring. You've been seeing all kinds of winter scenes up till now. Well, we figured it was high time that we get into the swing of things. And so that's picture behind me. And then, I don't know, can you shoot over here? We got some other great pictures. Look at that shot. Jeff took that picture, and he tells me that's in Panama somewhere, I guess it was, and over in Waits Corners. And then we got 2 more shots, and these are, yeah, there we go. Let's see, I don't even know how to explain this. My right, your left, I guess it would be, is a great, great picture of a forsythia. Look at that picture. That's awesome. Jeff took that one, and then, of course, we have our bicycle back. That was in front of the what?
Hotel Leonard.
The Hotel Leonard in Bemis Point, and Randy took that one. So these guys, I work with such talented crew here, and they have such a great eye, and they've really dressed up the studio for us great. So we're in the swing of things here for spring. Okay, I want to remind you that throughout the show today, and in any other day that we broadcast, that you can call in live. You can call us at 753-5225, and of course we always encourage you to be courteous and civil to me and our guests. You always are, but every once in a while we get a hot issue, so just temper yourselves and be polite. You can Twitter us, you can text us, you can catch us on Facebook, and there's all kinds of things that are flying in front of me here that you can, in any way you can contact us. And again, this is all about sharing information with our community and bringing you information that maybe you can't get in any other way. Okay, I have a slew of stuff to go over here, just real quick. Today, let's see, at the Shorewood Country Club, the Westfield Memorial Hospital Regional Auxiliary Board is holding its 16th annual Celebrating Spring event. And the tickets are $25, and it's going to, everything starts at 9 o'clock. It's starting right now. And if you are watching this, watch us till 10, and then scoot right out the door and get up there and have a good time. They got all kinds of fun things. They got a Chinese auction, and they are going to be debuting Harvest Time 1900. Series of fine porcelain ornaments and magnets and so forth. And they have a beautiful luncheon, and they are serving all kinds of great food. And so that's happening right now as we speak. So Shorewood Country Club, Westfield Memorial Hospital Regional Auxiliary is sponsoring their spring event. My little buddy Braley Lackner from Jamestown area, his Lakewood, his troop 131 is holding a spaghetti dinner May 16th at 4 p.m. at the Lakewood Legion Post. Okay, Jeff wanted me to remind you that he and his brother Galen and our cameraman Randy Burt, they're riding for cancer research at the Roswell Park for the Roswell Ride for Roswell, Ride for Cancer. And you can get on their website for Roswell and look up Randy Burt or Jeff Zook, and you can sponsor them by providing donations and so forth. And we'll be talking about this from time to time. All right, so let's get to some of the other information we got coming up here. Let's start out with our slides, our 16th annual. What do we got? 16th annual Celebrating Spring, and that's the Infinity Showcase. From what I've been told, it's going to be out of this world. Okay, there's all the information. That's next Saturday, and you can check them out. And the kids are putting together a fabulous show. I'm on Facebook with them all the time, and I know some of the guys that are in there. My sound man, Josh Reuter, he is playing guitar, and just a bunch of other folks. So that's coming up. Okay, also, Senior Citizens Breakfast. That is coming up May 7th, this Thursday, at Westfield Academy Central School at 9:15 in the cafeteria. and it's free. It's sort of like a thank you for supporting our school kind of thing. It's a senior citizens breakfast Thursday, May 7th. Okay, this just popped up. This one's a new one, so I got to figure this one out. So this is called Mommy, My Dolly and Me Tea Party. Okay, I got to read this one. It's the YWCA in Westfield. Thank you. The print is kind of small from here. That's coming up Saturday, May 9th, also for 11 to 1 p.m. Tickets are $10, and it looks like a fun time. So check it out. It's all about being an American girl. Okay, light lunch, dancing, and stuff like that. Crafts, basket raffles, and so on. Okay, coming up next is my own Westfield Mayville Rotary Auction Club event for our club. That's coming up Saturday, May 16th. If you haven't been to this, it's a great time. It's at Easton Hall. And for $10, you get a chicken barbecue dinner. You get a chance to win $500. That's before you spend anything on the actual prizes. But for $10, where can you get dinner for $10 from salad to dessert and a chance to win a bunch of money? And it's an entertaining evening. There's a silent auction, there's a live auction, and my good buddy Dave Brown, Dr. Dave Brown, will be the guest auctioneer. So that's a great time. That's May 16th. Check it out. Okay, something new from the YWCA again. We have something that if you've got a young lady or a young guy that wants a summer work, perhaps, babysitting classes, okay? And they're going to teach you all about how to watch little guys and gals. And I just was text messaging with our former babysitter who is got a family of her own and her kids in college, and we still reminisce the fact that she did such a great job years ago, and I'm sure she probably got some training along those lines. So if you're interested in babysitting, check it out, the YWCA. Oh, another YWCA event. Boy, the print is getting smaller. This is a father-daughter dance, and I gotta look at this monitor. May 30th, and that's from 6:30 to 8:30, and that is at, I'm assuming, the Westfield YWCA. Okay, we're going to get that print a little larger for these eyes. Okay, a new event coming up that we just started talking about is the Westfield Mayville Rotary Club Shred Fest. Okay, if you are like me, you have been stashing papers for who knows why. My mom always said keep everything because you never know when the IRS wants to investigate you. Well, after 7 years, you can get rid of this stuff. I got things from 30 years ago or more. So it's time to clear out those closets, get those cabinets emptied out, and bring it down to the Westfield School on the 30th from 9 to noon, and they're going to shred all your papers so nobody can figure out who you are, where you came from, and so forth. Okay, and it's $10 a box. In other news, Infinity Visual and Performing Arts will be hosting the May installment of Pulse Poetry Slam on Thursday, May 7th from 2 this year to 6 p.m. I'm just reading this thing. It doesn't even make sense. Hang on a minute. It's Thursday, May 7th at 6 p.m. This event is free, family-friendly, and open to the public. Performance poetry is an excellent way to express creativity while practicing performance and public speaking. Whew, a lot of P's in there. Poets and audience members welcome. Registration is now open for bands and musicians for the 12th Annual Local Music Showcase in support of the Infinity Visual and Performing Arts Center. I've played for them for the last 3 years. I'm signed up for this year. So it's a great time if you're interested to play for them. Interested musicians can contact my friend Stephanie Rogers at, lms@infinityperformingarts.org to request a registration form, or just go online with Infinity, and you can find it there as well. Registration forms will be accepted until Wednesday, July 1 at 5 p.m., and all venues are booked. They've got like 12, 14 places that people play, and you pay one money, and you just go all over Jamestown and watch great live music. Also, Infinity Visual and Performing Arts announces their summer class schedule and summer camps. If you've got some kids that are interested in doing something very exciting, I recommend this, and this is for all the county. This year's summer camps include Cultural World Tour, Animal Camp, and a Music and Art Institute. I've played at that Summer Institute, I think 3 years now. Summer camps and group classes will run from June through August, and they fill up quickly. For a more detailed schedule of events, please visit Infinity's website and download a copy of their summer class schedule, or visit the Infinity Center to pick one up today. And we had kids from all over the county for there. Okay, and looks like my last announcement, opening day for our 18th season of Crossroads Farm and Craft Market starts today, May 2nd. If you're interested, our 6th annual Soup R Saturday is May 9th. This very popular soup cook-off will benefit Lily's Hope by the women of Zonta out of Jamestown, and features an array of original recipe soup. So Crossroads opens today, and they have a big Soup R, big fundraiser on May 9th up there too. Okay, whoo-wee, just about there. This past week I was out in the woods, and I was giving Max a good run, and I came across this particular site. And there it is. And maybe some of you may or may not know what that is. You know what that is, Randy? Jeff knows. I just heard him yell through the wall. This is the Reed Powers Memorial Leak Patch in my woods. We lost Reed a year ago this week, and you know, there's just sometimes when you see something or hear something, just remind you of someone that was near and dear to you. And Reed would bring leaks from the woods and terrorize us every year. Poor Randy about passed out one year. I had to wear goggles and a face mask to get through the studio here. But Reed was so animated, such a lively character, and did such good work for the community for about 18 years. We do miss Reed, and I just thought I wanted to mention that it's been a year now. And Chautauqua Sunrise is a natural spin-off of the Senior Report, and I thank Reed for giving me that support to run the program and to take it over here. And so far so good. I don't even know what show we're on, but we're in the 40s, and we're coming up on 1 year in July. So far so good. So we're going to take a public service announcement, and we're going to get right to our guest, and we have a great show lined up for you. So stay tuned. This is for you. Good. How are you?
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Okay, just a reminder, of course, when you're burning brush or anything out in the woods or in your backyards, be mindful that it's really easy to set a whole woods on fire. I've done it twice myself, and I'm embarrassed to say that. I did. I had a burn barrel too close to the woods, and it was the summertime, and someone says, "Your woods are on fire." I go, "What?" And I get out there with my shovel, and all the leaves had started taking off and burning. That was years ago. I'm wiser now. But now I have my hose and shovel in hand, and I'm ready. But anyways, be mindful of our woods and protect our environment. My guest today is no stranger to our studios here. She's been with us for years and years and a great supporter of our show here. Good morning, Senator Catherine M. Young.
Good morning. How are you?
I've got your whole name memorized. We watch it every week.
That's pretty good. I bet you don't know how to spell Catherine, though.
C-A-T-H. Is it A?
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
Most people misspell it.
With an E.
Yeah, and I'm named after my grandmother, and most people have an E in the middle of Catherine. And so by the time she was in her 70s, she actually said, "I give up." And she started to spell it with an E. So
Really?
yeah, but my name is like St. Catherine's, Ontario.
Okay.
You know that spelling, so yeah.
Cool. Well, we haven't seen you in a while. You've been a little busy, I see.
Very busy.
I've been watching the news and so forth. For our viewers, and not everybody gets this all the time. Okay, you're a state senator in Albany. You don't go to Washington, and
Right.
your senatorial is it district?
Yes.
What does it encompass?
So it encompasses all of Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, Allegheny, and then 8 towns, half of Livingston County. So it goes, you know, from Ripley all the way up to 20 miles south of Rochester.
Oh my gosh.
It takes about 3 hours to drive from one end to the other. I figured it out, and we have over 4,000 square miles in my district. And so I put a lot of miles on my car, and about 60,000 a year. And then we're furthest away from Albany, too.
That's a good thing, I think.
And you know, Assemblyman Andy Goodell figured this out. It is a good thing. But
I think it is.
He figured this out, and I verified it. And from the western edge of my district in Chautauqua County, there are 9 capitals that are closer to Chautauqua County than
sure.
Albany is,
Oh, wow.
including Toronto, Canada, Dover, Delaware, Trenton, New Jersey, Annapolis, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Charleston, West Virginia, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Columbus,
I'm
Ohio,
impressed you can remember all
and
that.
even Lansing, Michigan.
Oh, my gosh.
So we're out there, which, as you said, is a good thing. But at the same time, you
Yeah.
know, I do rack up the miles.
When I used to go to Albany when I was a superintendent, it's exactly 350 miles from my door to the state
Yep.
capitol. It's hard to believe. People don't appreciate, you know, what you do to get around. And I do appreciate you being here today. Does your assistants have you all booked for the rest of the day out this way? Or?
Well, yeah, I have several events, and I actually end up on the other end of my district. So it's one of those district-wide swings today.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's always great to be here. And I was so glad to hear that you emceed the Child
Oh,
Advocacy
it was
Center
great.
event.
It was tremendous.
You know, that's something near and dear to my heart. And I work every year to get funding for the CACs in the state budget. And, of course, the one in Chautauqua County does a phenomenal job. We also have one in Cattaraugus in Allegheny County. And I know people understand what they are, but they really help children who are abused in some way.
It's terrible.
And what really stuck with me a long time ago is that I met a woman, and her child abuse case, she was abused as a child horrifically. It was a national incident. It was so bad. And, you know, her mother ended up killing her brother. She had him tied to the shower, wouldn't feed him, beat him. She was tied up in the closet. But long story short, when she was finally discovered, she was almost dead when she was finally discovered, nobody knew what to do with her, and so they took her to the police station and they put her in a jail cell.
Oh, my
Because they
gosh.
didn't have, you know, this is back
Yeah,
in the late
oh.
50s, early
Oh, all right,
60s.
way back then,
Yeah, and that's always stuck with me. So these children who are in such bad situations go to this loving team in a home-like setting that helps them out, you know, and whether it's law enforcement, medical people, counselors, the whole thing. And it's such a worthwhile thing. So I just want to say thank you to you for being such a strong supporter. I think that's
Absolutely.
wonderful.
You know, I commented to the audience that evening. I said, you know, my field of endeavor for employment was I was a special ed teacher, and then I became an administrator and so forth. And during all the years that I was active in education, we didn't have that. And the frustration to be able to hook a child or a family that was in crisis and there was abuse, and to be able to give them all those things that you talked about didn't exist. It was like you go here for this part,
Right.
you go here to this part, and you hope that this agency talks to this agency, and all those forms that you got to fill out, a release of information, all that nonsense. It was just total chaos. And when I heard about this program, I said, I'm in. I'm all in on this. And so we had Jana on the show, and we continue. Chris did. You got to see the video that Chris Burt out there. He just got almost a standing ovation. They showed at the dinner, and it was spectacular. He did a tour when you walk through the door of their agency and all the people that touch the lives of that child and family as they go through the process. And he did a great job. And so we're behind that full time. And I'm really glad to see Vince Horrigan, our county executive, and Congressman Tom Reed. They both did the training that I'm been through with the Stewards of Children training. And so I'm glad to see that everybody's getting on board with this. So,
Absolutely.
So I'm glad, and thank you for your support. Okay, so here we are, and we're talking about what's going on in Albany. And I know that there was a time that people said Albany was dysfunctional, and then it got better, and now, I don't know, I've been seeing so many reports, and I'm not here to bash it. I'm mystified right now. It seems like a lot of what I've been hearing is around education, Common Core, and all this stuff. So can you shed any light on this?
Sure. So we just passed the state budget. We were able to get it done on time. When Governor Cuomo came out with his proposal for the budget in January, he had some major, what he called reforms in there that we were very concerned about relating to education. And one was changing the teacher evaluation system so that it would be based on 50% on a teacher's, of a teacher's evaluation would be based on one test, and it really was not fair to the teachers. He had outside evaluators coming into the school districts, which I had a concern about because somebody from the outside doesn't know the culture of the school. And so, for example, you know, every school is different. You know this as an educator.
Absolutely.
The culture is different. But also you don't know what's going on in that classroom. And I've talked to teachers. One told me the other day, he said, you know what? He said, I've got 3 kids in my class. One had his mother recently die in a fire. The other one has his father dying from cancer. And the third is a great kid, but she has some mental health concerns. She had just been hospitalized for that. So how can somebody from the outside come in and know what's happening in those students' lives? There are several other things, you know, so the governor started to threaten. He was saying he was going to take away the school's funding if, you know, legislature didn't do what he wanted and all that sort of stuff. So we went through the budget hearings, and we were very concerned about it. And one of the goals that the Senate set was to get rid of the gap elimination adjustment. And that, as you know, has been a horrific thing because it's caused deep cuts in education funding over the past several years. I voted against it when it was put in place. And the Senate Republicans have been trying to get rid of it ever since, and we've been making progress. But we said, this is the year. We are going to eliminate the gap elimination adjustment because it takes funding away from our children's future. And in our one-house budget resolution, which this process is, the governor proposes, legislature goes through the hearing process, and then the Assembly and the Senate, we each come out with our own plan.
Right.
So in our plan, we said, get rid of the gap elimination adjustment. We wanted to increase education funding to by $1.9 billion. And so that was our stand in negotiations. The governor was not open to a lot of negotiation, kept threatening. And what happened, this started under Governor Patterson, and there have been some court cases. Governor Patterson decided, when the budget was late, that he could put all kinds of policy in the budget extenders. It's called a continuing resolution. So the budget's late. In order to keep government functioning, you have to pass these extenders or continuing resolutions so that things keep going. So Governor Cuomo was saying, my way or the highway. If you don't do this, legislature, I'm going to put everything, you know, the 50%, you know, take away funding, do all this other stuff in a budget extender. And then either you're going to shut down government or I'm going to get the whole thing passed. So we did, so we did the best we could to change things. And one of the things that really made sense was, you know, I'm not a professional educator. The governor's not a professional educator. And we wanted to give the decision-making over to the people who are supposed to be professionals in education.
Makes sense to me.
And so we finally got the governor to agree that this decision-making regarding teacher evaluations should go to the state education department and the Board of Regents, because that's supposed to be their role.
It's where it's always been.
Right, exactly. I know. So all of a sudden this change in policy making. And so we were able to do that. We were able to change the outside evaluator so that it could be somebody from the same school district. There's still some changes I think need to be made to that. And so now state education and the Board of Regents are going through this public comment period because we insisted that the public should have the right to give their input. And you know, when you make an administrative change, a regulation, that there's supposed to be a public comment period. So I'm encouraging teachers, I'm encouraging parents who are concerned about over-testing, which I'm concerned about that too. That was part of the language we inserted in the final budget, was that state ed has to figure out a way to reduce testing because there's a lot of over-testing going on for the kids. And so we were able to put those changes, and we were able to put a huge dent in the gap elimination adjustment, which I am thrilled about. So the gap elimination adjustment to the schools in my Senate district is 94.6% eliminated. It's gone.
Could you explain to our viewers what that means?
What that means is that where's the camera? Okay,
You just keep talking.
I'll just talk to you. Well, you know, Reed always used to say, "Look at the red
You don't
light."
have to.
Okay.
Jeff Flash is between the cameras, so
Okay.
you're always in frame.
So what that means is that these, basically what the state was doing with the gap elimination adjustment is that it had budgetary shortfalls, and so it would take it out of education, which I thought was wrong, because that's one of the areas we should be investing in. So the state would basically give funding to the schools and then take it away.
Oh, yeah. I know
Right?
that feeling.
So you know that. So we've been able to, the Senate Republicans have pushed to change that, to reduce that taking away piece of it over the past few years since we got back in the majority. And we've been making progress. And so this year we were able to reduce it. Now, the less wealthy school districts were getting hit the hardest, because if, like, say you're getting a certain percentage of funding per student, as you know very well after being at Ripley, that the rural districts actually get a larger share of state aid per pupil
Absolutely.
than the wealthy districts. And so when you take 10% of that,
Right.
it's a huge hit. And so what we put into the formula was that the less affluent, the poor school districts would get restored first.
Good.
And the rural districts would get restored first. And I pushed very hard to get that done.
Great.
And we were able to get that in the final budget.
Good. Yeah, there's nothing like you think this is what you're going to get, and then all of a sudden there's a shell game, and then
It's gone. It's
and,
gone.
And it drives schools crazy, and then we look like dummies. We look like we're playing games. Now, 1 minute you got staff, and 1 minute you don't have staff, and it's very confusing. My question right now, just as I'm sitting here, is why is the governor so tough on education right now? I mean, he was supposed to be like the education governor when he first came in, and now it's the things he says and does. It's like, what's going on?
I know,
mean,
there's a lot of rhetoric about
Yeah.
teachers and not being very kind to teachers, which I totally disagree with. The vast majority of teachers are very good at their jobs. They
Yeah.
work extremely hard. They're dedicated to the kids. And it's like anything, every once in a while you have a bad teacher,
But-
obviously.
in any profession.
In any profession, in any walk of life, and obviously you need to do something if somebody is detrimental in the classroom. I mean, one of the things that was in the budget that I agreed with is that if there's a person who is convicted of a violent felony against a child, they do not belong in the classroom. Believe it or not, with the 3020A regulations, it's very difficult to remove
That's scary,
somebody
yeah.
even if they have a criminal offense. So that was changed, and I think that's very positive. And I would say
I wouldn't argue
that
with that.
most teachers and most educators would say that is a good thing.
Reasonable people will come to that reasonable conclusion.
Exactly, exactly. So there were some changes like that. I really can't guess why the governor has this my way or the highway attitude. What I really think needs to happen too is that there needs to be a constitutional amendment saying that the governor cannot put unrelated policy into budget bills. And there recently was a statewide poll that said that most of the public agreed with that. I mean, that's what he was trying to do, was put all these policy changes, significant, into these budget extenders and just say to the legislature, you have to do this, or you're going to have to close down state government. That's wrong. I think these issues should rise or fall on their own merit and not have this kind of forcing through. It would take a constitutional amendment, I believe, and it would have to have 2 passages, and then it would go to the voters. But let the voters decide those issues, whether that's appropriate or not. From my perspective, it's not appropriate, and I think we should change that system. As I said, Governor Patterson started that, and then there have been some court decisions over the years that so it upheld what Governor Patterson wanted to do. But so many times you see this policy that I don't believe is the right thing to do, beneficial for the people in my district, and then you have this choice about that where there isn't a choice. And so there's going to be some discussion, I think, in Albany in the legislature about how can we change it, because this system is wrong right now and it's not working.
Yeah, it's really putting apples, oranges, nuts and bolts, and an elephant into the mix, and it just doesn't, it's kind of strange. It's sort of like what you hear out of Washington all the time, there's somebody's bridge that they want is attached to health care or something crazy like
Right,
that, So
right.
that doesn't make
But
sense.
also, in our form of government, you have 3 co-equal branches of government. It's the executive or the governor, it's the legislature, and then you have the judiciary. And the legislature is co-equal with the governor. And right now it's out of whack because the governor seems to have most of the power. And I don't think that's how the founders
no.
envisioned government. And you don't just have one person running the entire state. And the state is very diverse, as you know. We have a lot of regional differences, upstate, downstate.
Oh, yeah.
Even, the different regions around the state, whether it's Long Island, Hudson Valley, Western New York, we may have different priorities, but everybody's voice should be heard in the process. And so that's where I'm at on it. But it was a very tough budget. However, I feel optimistic that with state ed doing the decision-making, the public comment period, I'm looking to bring the new Regent Catherine Collins down to the southern tier so that she can interface directly with teachers and parents. I think that's very important. I called her. She said she would do it.
Great.
So, we're trying to facilitate this communication now so that everybody has input.
I was on Dennis Drew's radio show a couple weeks ago when we were putting the WRAFA, I still got to get this right. I want to say it differently, Radio for the Arts with Dennis Drew, and he says, let's do a little interview. And he started asking me about the evaluations and teachers and the assessments. And I noted to him, I said, how could this possibly be fair that from year to year the students change? They have yet to prove to me that the tests themselves from year to year are similar in difficulty and content, and all those issues that you just brought up about what's going on in the lives of children, and that it's a one-shot deal. That day, those 3 hours, that test now is going to weigh in on a teacher's evaluation that has been there for the other 279 days or 59 days or whatever it is a year. And that's ludicrous to me. None of us would want to be evaluated that way. And
Never.
Just too many variables in there.
Right, and then with these crazy tests, what happens is that the teachers don't get the results right away.
Oh, yeah.
So how can you even use them as a measuring stick as far as what a student's progress is? It just, so we were pushing to get, the tests back right away. There's a lot of concern with Pearson, which is the company that comes up with the test.
There you go.
There's a lot of concern with whether the questions are age appropriate or not, and a lot of the educators I speak with, I just had some teachers in my office yesterday. It was so cool because they brought in lifesavers and they presented them to me and said, you're a lifesaver, you're bringing down Regent Collins, that sort of thing. And they actually had a great poster that was made by some third graders with lifesavers on it too, so I'm hanging that in my office. But, it doesn't make sense that you would, as you said, base all this evaluation on those kinds of things. And these tests are hard, they're not age appropriate. Children are feeling sick, they don't want to go to school, they're losing their enthusiasm for learning. And so there are a lot of changes. But I'm hopeful now that the direction we're pointed in is going to bring the right changes to our schools instead of what the governor wanted to do.
And right along with this, with the Common Core assessments, parents are opting out. Do you think that's going to get clarified in the next year and that it's not going to be so contentious?
I think it should, and one of the issues, of course, is that the Common Core actually emanates from the federal government.
Right.
And the federal government actually requires, under current law and regulation right now, that 17 tests are given. That's way too many.
Yeah.
And so I think that Congress should act to make some changes there. We'll probably be doing in the Senate a resolution calling on Congress to reform the Common Core because I think that has to happen. We really need assistance from them because a lot of federal dollars come down into the state, and we certainly don't want to lose that funding source because, again, that would hurt our schools. So it's all very complex and complicated, but we really feel that Common Core needs to be changed.
Good. Folks, you're watching Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels, and my guest today is Senator Catherine Young. She represents our county here in Chautauqua. If you have a question for for Senator Young or myself, you can call us at 753-5225. You can Twitter us. I got my trusty iPad here, and the information is sent to me if you have a question, if you're too shy to call in. But don't be shy. It's real simple. Just there's a nice voice that'll answer at the other end, and they'll give you some ideas of how to approach us. You will be put on hold, and all of a sudden you'll hear me talking or Senator Young, and then I will say, "Good morning, caller," and then you can ask your question. So don't be shy. This is really about sharing information, giving you the opportunity to ask questions. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
I did get I don't know if you got the email the other day, but I did get posed the question about the charter schools and so forth. Can you comment about that legislation and
Yeah,
what that's all about?
that probably will be considered before the end of session. And basically, these are urban-centric initiatives. They're looking to possibly raise the cap on charter schools. What I find horrifying in New York State, in these inner-city places, that there are a lot of schools that have a lot of gang activity, tons of violence. There's one school I can think of, 45% of the kids stay home every day because they're afraid to go to school.
Oh, wow.
Only 11% of the student population are passing the tests.
That's just hard to believe.
It is hard to believe. And so charter schools are an alternative for these parents who want their kids to be able to go to a better school, just like we do. I mean, we have some Catholic schools here in Chautauqua County, some private schools. Charter schools actually are public schools.
Right.
And they can be unionized. They may be, they have the flexibility to maybe have longer school days, longer school years, things like that. So, you know what? I believe very strongly there will never be charter schools in our region because we have great,
strong
school districts and great teachers. And so this is really to help the failing schools. We have some, a few in some of the upstate cities. Most of the failing schools are in New York City, however, in neighborhoods where there is little hope. And so this would bring some hope, I think, to those schools.
Okay.
I would never do anything to hurt my districts. I support my districts,
Absolutely.
very strongly.
I can attest
But
to that.
this is something to handle an urban problem.
We got a phone call.
Okay, good.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Doc. Good morning, Senator Young. I got two quick questions and I'll hang up. The first question, this Common Core, we know how people, talk about it. What are the students picking up? Are they just hating it because they're hearing everybody, the adults talking about it and they think it's crazy? I mean, if I was a student and that's all I heard, I would start hating it even if it was good, because you're hearing all the negatives and things. And my second question is, I've been watching Chautauqua Sunrise, and they have been talking about the Common Core, and it sounds like this does not affect the students' grades. It's just a teacher rating thing. So, I know it's a lot of tests, but what's the problem? Is it just been blown so out of proportion that we just think it's terrible, and it's not really, pass or fail for the students? But I'm a little confused on that part. But I'm going to hang up and let you guys talk about that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for calling.
Thank you very much.
So
good to hear from you.
Two questions in there. Are kids being influenced by others, and really, what's the test for?
Right. So, and those are really good questions,
Yeah.
I think. So, with the first question, first of all, I strongly believe we have to have higher educational standards. We need to make sure that our students are prepared to be successful in life, to compete in not just, in their community, but in a global economy. And so we need to have higher expectations and probably have a little bit tougher curriculum. At the same time, the rollout of the Common Core was a disaster when they rolled it out. Nobody was ready, and they had unreasonable things in there, like this over-testing of little kids, kindergarten through second grade, fill out the bubble questions.
Gosh.
Way beyond their age.
We're just trying to get them to sit still.
Ability, right, exactly. And then there were other things people were very concerned about, something called In Bloom, where the schools were going to be required to collect all this personal data on students and then turn it over to a third party without any clear definition of what that information was going to be used for. So, you as an educator know that if there's a student, and maybe in 7th grade, they're a little rambunctious, they get in a little trouble, it was nothing big,
Right.
but if that's on their record and somebody can go check that in the future, that could have a lot of repercussions during that person's entire life. So we were saying, no, you got to get rid of this in Bloom. That's, we have enough of, big government. We don't need big government intruding in people's lives in this new way now. And we were able to make some changes over the past couple of years. Now with Common Core, as I said, I think a lot of the issue is that doesn't seem to be age appropriate in every question on the test, it's not really fair to judge teachers based on the results of one test, as you said, on one day. I do think there was a lot of peer pressure going on both sides, and some students, I got reports from parents whose students decided to take the test that they felt that their youngsters were being pressured to not take the test by their peers, and vice versa. So yes, you know how things kind of spread through the school district and swirl around sometimes. But I think we've just got to get over this. If there are things that are broken, they need to be fixed, and I think that's the direction that we're going in now. But it is a very tough topic too at the same time, and I don't think there are any immediate answers, except I do think that telling State Ed and the Board of Regents, go back to the drawing board, come up with something that works, is the right direction to take.
Okay, thank you.
And those were good questions.
Very good questions. And caller, thank you. And see how easy that is, folks? So we still have about 13 minutes left, and if anyone else has a question or a comment for Senator Young, well, here's something on Twitter. Let's see what this one says. Let's see. Someone just called and wondered, when is the roads by Stowe Bridge going to be fixed? I don't know anything about that. They have been in decay for 3 years, so that must be something you know, because you just made a sigh.
Yes. So few things going on, and right now with the local roads, as you know, we have a ton of potholes.
Oh, yeah.
We've had 2 years of harsh winters. This year was absolutely the worst. And so we pushed in the budget process to get additional road and bridge funding to local governments to help them, because local governments don't always have the resources to be able to fix what needs to be fixed. And we were able to get an additional $50 million in the budget that will be on top of what the record amount they got last year, just to help out. Bad roads obviously impact your car, but they're a safety hazard.
Without question.
Yes. And so I think what they're talking about is Interstate 86, and there was a road resurfacing project a few years ago. I don't think it's held up. I've had discussions with DOT about it, and I'm pushing DOT to try to get in there quicker and make the changes that need to be made. They are now, construction season is starting. And I have to tell you, the other thing that affected us, as you know, the Senate Republicans lost the majority in the Senate in 2009 and 10. And at that time, we had Governor Patterson from New York City. We had the Assembly heavily controlled by New York City. And we had the Senate all of a sudden controlled by New York City. And it was a disaster for upstate. We had $14 billion in tax hikes on people's, heating bills. I mean, you name it. They took away the star rebate checks on property taxes, the whole thing. And during that time, they started to siphon funding away from upstate into New York City. And we lost a lot of our road and bridge funding at that time. So since we got back in the majority, we've been working hard to get the formulas and the funding back to Western New York.
Bring it back in.
And we're making progress, but I would have to specifically go back and ask DOT again about that. But if that caller, that person on Twitter, wants to call my Jamestown office, we will specifically call DOT again, because we've called in the past on this, and try to get a more definite answer.
Great.
And my Jamestown phone number is 664-4603.
Okay.
And I would encourage people anytime that they have a question to actually give me a call.
Okay, great. And we'll keep that number here on file. And if anyone that's watching wants to call us later on, we'll give you that number. We have another caller.
Great.
Ready? Okay, good morning, caller.
Good morning. First of all, I want to tell you I enjoyed your show last week. It was excellent.
Thank you.
But secondly, I just wanted to thank Senator Young for all she's done to help us fight the SAFE Act. And hopefully we'll be victorious someday.
Well, you're right, and we're working on that. This past year in the state budget proposal from the governor, he had $7 million allocated toward the SAFE Act to build this ammunition database. It's background checks for ammunition, which I cannot even fathom why anybody would want to do that. So if you want to go hunting, for example,
Right.
or target shooting or whatever,
Yeah, ski.
yeah, exactly, that you would have to go through a background check. We took that $7 million out of the final budget. And the other thing that people should be aware of is that in order for the governor to put the final ammunition database background check system in place, he's going to need $75 to $100 million.
Whoa.
Because it says in the law that in order to do that, the state would have to pay for the equipment at every point of sale. And meaning by that,
Oh my gosh.
every Walmart, every Kmart, every sporting goods place, every Dick's Sporting Goods,
Mom and pop shop
every
that
gun
exists,
shop.
yeah.
And so that's good because he doesn't have the money to do it. And we're going to continue to block him from
Good.
getting that
That just doesn't make
75
sense.
to $100 million. At the same time, I sponsor legislation to repeal the SAFE Act. I think, we're going to push again. If we can at least make some incremental progress in eliminating it, I think it's better than nothing. And you'll be hearing more about that as session goes on. But the more that we can repeal the bad parts of this, the better. And the good thing is too, there are several court cases that are making their way through the court, and I'm optimistic that some of those issues will be resolved.
Right.
There's already been one. There was this dumb thing in the SAFE Act that said that if you had a 10-bullet magazine,
Oh, I remember this. Reed and I would talk about
they
this
could only put
forever.
7 bullets in the 10-bullet. It's just craziness. So,
I applied for that job, by the way.
Oh,
I was
you
gonna-
did
I was
to-
gonna be a
to
bullet
load 'em
collar.
up?
I was going to go. I was going to go all around, and I was going to have my special little hat. I said, "May I see your magazine? I'm going to count your bullets." How stupid!
I know. Well, a court already said it is stupid. And so,
How do you enforce that?
it's being appealed right now, but I think the courts will say this is really dumb. It's just some arbitrary number. They don't even make 7-bullet magazines. It's just, it is stupid. So there's so many stupid things in there. And so we're hoping to get parts of it repealed. Yes, caller.
Hello.
Is he still there?
I don't know. Caller, are you there?
Oh,
Gone.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, anyway, so that's
Sorry.
what's going on with that. But thankfully, that $7 million was taken out. There's a lot of swirl out there that the funding wasn't taken out. It absolutely was taken out. And as I said, in order for the governor to get his way on this ammunition database background check, you would have to have $75 to $100 million to do
Unbelievable.
it.
Holy miracle.
So we're blocking that.
Good for you. Good for everyone. Okay, we have another caller. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. This is Linda Spalding.
Hey,
Good morning,
Linda.
Senator Cathy. It's so great to see you on the show again. And thank you for the support that you give to our senior employment program.
Well, thank you for all that you do. I love to visit, and you bring so much enrichment into people's lives, and you do such a fantastic job. And our seniors really love to learn about using computers and the internet, and all of a sudden they're on Facebook, and they can talk to their grandchildren, and it's just a wonderful
my
thing.
dad's getting awesome on Facebook.
Is he really?
He really is.
Do you know what I saw at McDonald's in Westfield yesterday? When I went in, there was a whole group of seniors in the back with computers, their
I
own,
love it.
Free Wi-Fi.
and playing computer games with
Free
them.
coffee and free Wi-Fi.
I couldn't believe it. They all had their laptops and they were playing computer games. It was terrific.
I think that's fantastic. That is so good. And, and I also was talking to somebody yesterday, the seniors are really getting to be very adept at technology.
They love it.
They love it. And these kids, I was talking to these teachers yesterday, and one was a technology teacher, and I said, I can't believe these little tiny kids now that they know more about computers than I could ever hope to know, and they're so good at it. So I really think that's spreading, and technology is spreading, and I think that it's a good thing. We're doing things with telehealth now to help seniors stay in their homes longer, so they don't have to go to nursing homes. There's all kinds of applications that are enriching people's lives, and I want to thank you for all that you do.
Oh, well, thank you. And I met your representative, William Heaney.
Oh, yes.
Who came to our computer training graduation in Olean in February. It was a real pleasure to meet him.
Yes, he's a great guy, and you know, he's a retired teacher, but he just is a wonderful person, and I am so blessed because I have great staff. They meet constituent needs every single day, and so thank you for saying that.
Oh, and also, well, thank you. I wanted to tell you how much I enjoyed hearing all the ramifications of our New York State government, and thank you for explaining that so well.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
And I also wanted to mention that we have other services with the Chautauqua County Office for the Aging in Mayville. The number to call is 753-4471. Well, I don't want to hold you up. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend.
Okay,
Thank
Linda.
you too.
Good to hear from you, as always. I'm so proud of my dad. My dad's going to be 92 at the end of this month, and last night I talked to him, and he said that he got his national fuel bill online. He went to their site. He put in the information about the dials on his meter, and he submitted it all by his lonesome.
Oh my gosh.
So I go, Dad's getting techie here, but that's the world that we're living in now. Everything's done on computers.
Yeah.
We've only got 3 minutes left, so let me go to my second question of all the ones I had here. You got a new job in Albany, and it's called the Assistant Majority Whip. Woo! That sounds pretty cool. What's it mean?
Well, it means that I'm in leadership, and I think it's good for my region if I'm in leadership. Yeah. But basically, it's, you know, communicating with other senators about upcoming votes, different issues, and that's what, I mean, I do it anyway, but now I have an official title and official role in communication. And so but it's good. It's good to be in leadership. It bodes well for our region. We haven't had anybody in leadership in quite a while. And so, you know, I just want to keep plugging away and doing the right thing for our area.
So just keep getting elected and stay in there and stay in there and stay in there.
Yeah.
Cathy, we just got a couple of minutes left here. So how about you can share anything you want about whatever is burning in your mind that's in Albany right now or in the area.
You know, I volunteered to be on 2 new task forces, and one has to do with Lyme disease.
Ooh.
And you were talking about being out in the woods earlier.
Yeah.
You really have to be careful. People think that it's not that prevalent in our area, and I do believe it's underreported. So we put out an announcement that I'm on this special task force. We're going to be traveling across the state. And, you know, we said the statistics from the local Department of Health. My office was flooded with calls from people who said that those figures aren't right, that they're underreported. I've got Lyme. And so I had a whole room full of people who wanted to come see me. I had them all come at the same time, which was good because they didn't know each other, and now all of a sudden it's like this support group. But there's different, there's different areas of prevention and treatment and detection and the whole thing that we really have to take a look at. But I want to tell people to be careful when you're outside. You know, wear the deed on your shoes and your pants. Take preventative measures. Because it's really important.
And watch your animals as well.
I was just going to say, check your pets, because, and you don't always get the bullseye rash. You don't know, but you know, I think that a lot of cases of Lyme are not being tested by the physicians, and as a result, people think they have some other malady when in fact it may be Lyme.
Okay.
So I would encourage people to be careful.
Have your office keep me posted, and we'll announce things here.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other task force?
Well, the other one's on heroin and opioid addiction. I've been on that.
Yes.
I was reappointed. We have a terrible problem across the state. We have a terrible problem locally. It's affecting people's lives. Families are being torn apart. People who you would never think would have addiction problems have them. People of all ages, all walks of life. And so we're going to continue our efforts. We were able to pass a lot of legislation last year. I was able to get $350,000 in the state budget to expand mental health services at Jones Hill, at WCA Hospital in Jamestown to help people with different addiction issues. And so it's going to take a long, sustained effort, but we really need to put more mechanisms in place to deal with this terrible, it really is a scourge.
Okay. Folks, you've been watching Chautauqua Sunrise. My guest has been Senator Catherine Young, and we've run out of time. So if people want to get a hold of you, the number is?
Well, they can call my Chautauqua County office, which is on 2nd Street in Jamestown.
There you go.
And the number is 664-4603. But you can email me, just go online, Google New York State Senate, and my website will pop up. And I
Great.
encourage you to contact me. I want to hear from people.
Okay. Folks, thank you for watching. We'll see you all again next week. I'm Doc Hamels, and you have been watching Chautauqua Sunrise. Have a great weekend, and you take care.